Good morning, everybody out there around the entire world. Welcome back to the channel. It's Biblical Truth Central. It's Brother D here, back with another news video. Here we are on thestreet.com, and this story was actually brought up to me yesterday. We tried to bring it to the channel, but there were some technical difficulties, but I think we've got that fixed up right now. So the story here reads, expect the most evictions in history as ban expires. So what am I talking about? Some of you may not be familiar, especially if you don't rent. So ever since this whole pandemic began, there have been some strings that have been pulled that they have put a ban basically nationwide on not being able to evict people for not being able to pay their rent due to the pandemic. As we know, a lot of people have lost their jobs, income has slowed or has ceased. A lot of people are just barely making it as we speak. Some of them are on unemployment, dipping into their savings and their 501k just to buy groceries. They're just doing all different type of things just to keep their heads above the water. And one thing that people have not been able to, haven't been able to worry about is being evicted from, their houses that they may be renting or apartments, because they can't. Landlords cannot evict people as of this moment. But according to this story here, that might change. So we're going to read a little bit of this article here, and what they have here basically is millions of evictions that are coming up. This is a trajectory of statistics taken probably from census of the United States here. This here says the percentage of renters that are behind on their rent payments. So these are the percentage by race of people who are behind on their rent. So we have 4 different categories, that being Black, not Hispanic, Asian, and white. So if we look at the chart here from 5 to 35%, and this actually goes before September 2020. It goes back before that. I don't know why this chart says September of 2020 and not before. But as you can see here, Blacks are leading when it comes to percentage of not being able to pay their rent. Okay. Next in line is, Asians. And then we have Hispanics. And then we have white people not Hispanic. Okay. Now this chart over here to the right says these are the charts for the tenants with high confidence in the ability to pay next month's rent. So these are people who are not worried about paying their rent in January. They got it. They're not worried. They're focusing on other things. Same category of people, all the way up to nearly 60% of white, non-Hispanic are in the lead here. Next are the Asians. Then we have really a mix between Black and Hispanic communities that seem to be struggling the most out of really everybody, because again, this is a chart that is stating these are the races that are confident. They're confident in their ability of being able to pay their rent, and Blacks and Hispanic are not really that confident, as this chart is showing. This is not saying they can't, but they're grading this by different demographics. So we're going to read a little bit of the article, and like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put this link in the description. But before we continue, if you're new, please consider subscribing to this channel for more informative content, okay? It says the federal ban on evictions expires in January. For millions, that's when huge problems start, okay? Millions of U.S. renters face the prospect of eviction in January unless federal officials extend protections put in place during the COVID pandemic. That month is when the CDC's provisional ban on evictions is set to expire. So this ban that was put into place is from the CDC here. And really, what we'll see in a minute, the justification was for people to stay home, as they've been telling people all this year. The slogan has been "Stay home, stay safe. Don't go to work. Don't worry about paying your bills. Don't worry about paying your rent, because we're going to put something in place to where you don't have to worry about being put out on the streets, because we don't want you out spreading the virus or whatever." But that's about to backfire. Let's continue. The moratorium protects tenants who have missed monthly rent payments from being thrown out of their homes if they declare financial hardship. The CDC ordered the halt on evictions under the Public Health Service Act, which allows the federal government to enact regulations that help stop the spread of diseases. I didn't know the CDC had that kind of power. Between 2.4 million and 5 million American households are at risk of eviction in January alone, and millions more will be vulnerable in the months after. According to the estimate from the Investment Bank and Financial Advisory from the Scout Rises Ross, landlords have already filed more than 150,000 eviction petitions during the pandemic in the 27 cities tracked by the Princeton University Eviction Lab. Many of those tenants have lost their cases and are now in the book for all of those for their back rents. So this here is the telltale. I was talking to my wife about this morning. I was like, I remember somebody that I used to work with made a statement when all of this began. He's a businessman. He said, "You know what? People, if you can pay your rent, pay your rent. Do not pay your rent if you have the money, because this is going to come back to bite you in the butt." Okay, so this month will make 10 months of this whole thing. 10 months of people not paying their rent because they're under this provincial act by the CDC. 10 months of landlords not receiving payments from their tenants. 10 months, folks. 10. Now, I highlighted this because it's the back rent that's going to put people out on the streets. That's why they're predicting that January is going to be the largest eviction in history, nationwide, state to state, city to city. And then it says for months to follow as well. It's because of the back rent. Do not think for 1 second that every month that is passed, that landlords are just crossing that out, and then you can just start a clean slate once January comes because the ban has been lifted. No, they got it on the books. 10 months worth of rent not paid is what a lot of people are going to be faced with paying. You're talking anywhere between this is 10 months worth of back rent, folks. Anywhere between $5,000 to possibly $11,000 will be due next month for a lot of people. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't just have that kind of money laying around. Most people do not have that kind of money laying around. Okay? Most evictions in history. When this all started, I remember saying, it's not the virus that I'm concerned about, because I just never believed the hype from the beginning, but it's more so the reaction to this situation that has my attention. Because I'm not going to sit up here and say that I am worried, because the Bible tells us to not be worried about anything, but to have good courage and to trust the Lord with all our heart to get us through hard times. This is a great time for people out there to be seeking after God, to help them get through these tough time periods, these tribulations that are about to come upon this earth. Everyone's saying, well, cancel 2020. Let's get ready for 2021. Are you sure you're ready for 2021? Are you sure you're ready for this? When people are desperate and they're back against the wall, they will do anything to protect their families, to provide for themselves. They will do anything. This is going to turn very ugly. And even if they do extend this ban, how much longer are they going to extend it? Because if the landlords can't pay their mortgages for the property that they live on, what is that going to do for the tenants? You know, it's a domino effect. It's a bad situation. Look, put your trust in Jesus Christ today. The Bible tells us that if we acknowledge God in all of our ways, He will direct our pathways and show us where we need to go and how we need to handle situations. Don't let things like this make you afraid. Okay? Don't be afraid. God is in control always. If you're new, please consider subscribing to this channel. More stories to come, more teachings to come, more content to come. God bless. Peace.